Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another, I want to say, shorter episode, I guess, of Extreme Let's Plays. This time featuring another game from the NES library, and directly after, in what directly comes after, Mario Brothers, and what better game than Super Mario Brothers. You know, I never noticed that that's the same jumping sprite. Anyway, let's begin, shall we? Okay, so here are the rules for this run. Alright, basically this game has two loops, right? There's a normal loop that features Goombas and slower enemies, and then there's a second loop after you beat the first loop, or the first Bowser, at the end of World 8, in which the Goombas there are going to be replaced by Buzzy Beetles, as well as being faster in general. Now, this game, I don't know. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it isn't. Unless you're playing haphazardly, it's likely you're not going to lose this. Although it has a difficulty where if you touch an enemy, you'll return to Mini Mario, even if instead of going back down to the lesser tier power. So, like you do in modern games. So there is that. Now, as far as the rules go, regardless of how many lives I have, I'm going to afford myself no greater than 5 lives. If I do not beat this game with at least a grand total of 500,000 points by the end of 2 loops, it's game over. Now, here's the thing. I have played this through once, and apparently after you complete World 8, even on one loop, your score resets to 0. So, if necessary, what I'll probably end up doing is keeping track of the total I get by the end of World 8 in the first run. I'll add that total to whatever I get by the end of World 8 in the second run, and with any luck it'll add up to a little over 500,000. So there is that. So that's pretty much the gist of it. So let's begin. Apart from that, there's really not much else to say. The point totals are a bit different in the older games as part to newer ones. Brick blocks here give you 50 points, and each coin, yes, even the loose leaf coins, give you 200 points each. Now, there is a mechanic that the more enemies you stomp on consecutively, the more points you get. So, there is a one up there, but I'm going to go for the coins instead. For the sake of points. Apart from that, I don't really have much else to talk about except what happened to me last night while I was at my job. Yes, contrary to popular belief, I'm not doing this YouTube thing full time. Actually, I'm kind of hoping that if all goes well, I can be playing games for the rest of my days instead of working at a regular job. It's not that I hate my job, it's just, well, I don't know, I did things the unlike the rest of the other YouTubers out there who started with YouTube and then maybe migrated towards things like college and an actual job, I'm kind of the opposite. I actually started with a job, actually tried to go to college, but unfortunately I didn't have enough money to actually finish getting a higher degree. At most, I may have mentioned it already, but at most I could only get an associate's in human services. Which isn't bad. Technically speaking, I've gotten a higher degree than most people my generation. Speaking of generation, I didn't, it wasn't until I Googled it, what was it? Back in 2019, I want to say. I actually Googled what it means to be born in 1986. And to my surprise, it actually said that if you're born in 1986, guess what? You're a millennial. To be fair, you're the eldest living among millennials, but a millennial nonetheless. So I can kind of see where people kind of think, we millennials are, idiots or morons. I mean, look. I mean, believe me, when I first heard that I was a millennial, it didn't fill me with any joy to know that. Because, on one hand, I kind of feel like it explains a lot, and yet, on the other hand, for me, it doesn't really explain enough. As far as why I never accomplished my goals, or... it's not like I don't have stick-to-itiveness, right? Technically, I had a job before the one I have now, and I've been at that job for almost 6 years. Now, out of respect for the business that I once worked at, I won't reveal what that job was, but let's just say that that job pretty much sucked. There's not much else I could say. To be fair, my first job that I ever had, I got that job back in 2008, and most people, well, pretty much everybody was saying that the economy was, well, more or less in the toilet. So, I kind of resigned myself to what I thought was, well, fate, I figured, well, this is the next economic depression. I guess, so much for my, so much for my college education, No, that wasn't the reason why I quit. That wasn't the reason why I quit college. I just couldn't afford it in general. Working at a fast food restaurant, I made almost nothing but minimum wage, I could never tell my father this, of course, but one of the reasons, not the primary reason, but one of the reasons I actually lost my first job, was actually, it wasn't just because, it wasn't just because of, like, a piss-poor attitude. It was actually trying to keep the drive-through times down, For me, the restaurant I worked at, in 6.5 years, almost 7 years, there have been so many people that have come and gone working at that restaurant, and it was just me and one other person that have basically been there longer than we probably should have, let's be honest. That was really my only mistake. Oh, that's a death. That's one. My only real mistake was being there longer than I should have, I only wish I had left that job for, at least the one I've got now. In fact, just April 1st, this year, or I guess it's about, a few days ago now, I'm actually at the job that I have now. I've actually now been there 8 years. So, anyway, last night, I finally get back to work after being gone for 5 days, and they made us basically, now again, I won't divulge where I work, out of respect, at least for the brand, but, the place I worked at, they wanted me to unload a truck, like, in the dark. They had, I guess apparently there was this planned electrical maintenance, and instead of basically waiting until the maintenance was over before unloading the truck, they basically just wanted us to unload the truck in pitch blackness for almost an hour before the lights came back on. And, I'm not going to lie, the truck that gets delivered to us, they don't put those things on pallets like they used to. It's all just kind of sitting in there when it arrives at the store. So, apart from, random items potentially being, damaged on transport, there's also the possibility that some of those items, apart from some of the items being damaged, upon delivery, you're also dealing with a truck full of items that are stacked way above your head. So, personally, I mean, I'm surprised that people who unload the truck or who are actually in the truck passing it down the conveyor belt, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't get their dome cracked open, you know, from a falling box or something. Because, you know, that's the only logical conclusion that I think would happen in a situation like that, but what do I know, you know? Okay, I don't think I'll be able to get that one. And, you know, I mean, but for me, I mean, that's not the worst of what happened. Around 5 o'clock, you know, they wanted me to straighten things out, you know, in the main area, right, you know. And apparently, you know, the head boss, which, by the way, he rarely makes an appearance, basically lambasted me for, I don't know, piss-poor service, I guess. I mean, again, I've been there for 8 years, you know. It's never a good feeling when you get back from vacation and the first thing you hear is, "What the hell are you doing?" Or something to that. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but still. I mean, believe me, you know, the store isn't... The people I work with, or work for, I mean, they're not exactly the spitting image of, you know, good management, you know. Or at least what I consider good management. I mean, look, I've been doing things the way I've been doing it for 8 years. I mean, I'd like to think that this whole time, you know, that I've been doing good, you know. I mean, I must be doing good because, you know, quite frankly, I don't see anybody making it to year... Hell, people my generation probably don't even make it past 2 years doing what I'm doing, you know, let alone 8. I mean, to be called out on... I mean, even if... I mean, look, let's pretend for a moment I was a bad employee in general, you know, like, I was never... You know, let's pretend like I was never a good fit for the job in general. I mean, don't you think if you were a manager that you would see through that bullshit and, you know, fire that employee after maybe a year or two? Or do you wait until year 8? I mean, the way I see it, it's kind of a foregone conclusion, you know? I mean, and like I said, I've been there long enough that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you know, I've seen things at that store that should never have been, and, you know, I mean, case in point, you know, back in 2021 when, you know, our store was being remodeled, you know, it was back when they were still doing some COVID restrictions, right? So while they were doing the remodel process late at night, they needed somebody to guard the door on overnight, and, well, since I wasn't... I mean, I can only assume I had gotten the job as mock security guard because, you know, maybe I wasn't a good employee otherwise. I don't know. Or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing, you know. I mean, it could be that they just couldn't find anybody else for the job, but still. They made me mock security guard, right? And, you know, there have been multitude of times where, you know, while I was on break, you know, that people that should not have gotten into the store have gotten into the store. I mean, hell, there was even an incident where some lady got turned away by my direct supervisor while I was on break. I came back from break, and wouldn't you know it, you know, while I'm sitting there trying to do a task that they gave me, oh yeah, that's another thing. I'm supposed to be a mock security guard by order of the corporation. You know, they wanted someone to guard the store to make sure nobody steals stuff, and yet, you know, my direct supervisors wanted me to still do things for the store, you know, beyond just what they probably considered just sitting there otherwise. I mean, look, I mean, it's easy to look at a security guard, you know, sitting on his, you know, buttocks or whatever, you know, not doing a damn thing, but on the other hand, you know, what else? I mean, what would you rather? Would you rather have a security guard sitting on his buttocks, knowing that he isn't that distracted, or do you want him to be engrossed in a project, beset by you know, the people he works for? You know, thus preventing him from fulfilling the task corporate wanted him to do in the first place. I mean, look, the way I see it, if corporate wanted someone to watch the door, then that should have taken priority. I don't care what other things the store wanted. That should have been priority one. And even then, September of that year, towards like the last day or two before the remodel was complete, they basically had me put security tags on liquor bottles. Yes, in front of an open door in the middle of the night, where anybody could have waltzed in and taken some. I'm surprised I didn't get blasted, to be honest, by a thief in the night or something, Maybe I'm being a little melodramatic, I don't know. But still, it's kind of a safety concern, I'm not saying... look, and even then, they were only having me cap liquor because, well, the person who normally did it, didn't happen to show up one particular time, and, well, it needed to be done, and who better to give the task to than someone who they perceived to be just sitting there? I don't know. Like I said, it's easy to knock people who are paid to effectively sit in one place, but you have to remember, too, they're supposed to be guarding stuff, Now, granted, I'm not really a security guard, and, in all honesty, they probably should have gotten a uniformed officer to do the job, if we're really talking about security, but still. It is what it is. I'm just saying, the management at my store isn't as squeaky clean or pristine as one would believe, So, like I said, I've been at my job for, 8 years now, win or lose, I have no regrets. Like I said, I've been there longer than most people my generation anyway, so I consider that a win, personally. And really, that's kind of a lesson in life, you're an adult, and at the end of the day, if you're an adult, the only person who best to celebrate your accomplishments is really yourself. If you see something you want, you can afford it, go for it, Hell, could be anything. New game, new car, hey, if you got the dosh, why not splurge, Treat yourself every once in a while. Of course, I would rather to have more than enough money to afford my own place, to be honest. But, hey, it is what it is. Which brings me to why I'm doing this, but still. Let's see. I did say 500,000 and, 5 lives, right? Yeah, sorry if this... I never said this was going to be warpless, but... Oh, I could never get that to work. I don't know. I can never get the Koopa Troopa trick to work on that set of stairs. Just never. Oops. That's the wrong way. Wrong way again. I could get a star, or I could just do that. Oh wait, the star was over here. Oh well. Is that always a winged Koopa Troopa? Yeah, in case you're wondering, this was before the whole defeat multiple enemies, get multiple points and then 1-up, so that's why the score never went beyond 200 for each defeated enemy there. Yeah, it's only if you jump on the enemies, unfortunately, in this early game. Oh, one other thing. Typically the first level of every world here has a hidden one-up, but it only appears, but you can only reveal it if you get all the coins in the third level of each previous world. So, like this one, for example. I know where the hidden one-up is in World 4-1, but if I want it to appear, I gotta get all these coins. I don't know why that is, but that's just the way it is. Okay. Yeah, so apart from... Well, I guess I won't be beating Bowser. At least, well, fake Bowser, I guess. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was in the All-Stars version of this game that you actually get points at the end of the 4th level for however much time is remaining on the clock. I could be wrong. About one of the only things that hasn't changed between games is that the mushroom has always... with the exception of Mario 2 and some of the modern games, a mushroom or any power-up has always given Mario 1,000 points. Or Luigi, depending on who you're playing as. Gotcha. Well, so far so good. I'm halfway there. Of course, I mean, one other strategy I could use is just, you know, rack up a bunch of points, die a couple of times, and then use a couple warps, but... Oh, by the way, and I'm sure you've already noticed, but I'm playing this on the online service. So, if I take a death that I feel is borderline shenanigans, I'll reverse time to maybe before that happened. You know, not because I want to, but you know, sometimes these older games, you know, they have like weird things tend to happen, like, you know, sometimes you die at the same time you get a power-up, so, and yet both sound effects play, leaving you to wonder if maybe there's some shenanigans going on, you know? There, got it. Okay, so here's where the one-up is. I mean, not that it really matters. I mean, like I said, 5 deaths and it's game over, so... that's the challenge. I actually at one point had the NES Mario Brothers Game & Watch, but I don't know, I seem to have lost it somewhere. I mean, I do have another one just sitting there on the shelf right now, but, you know, I bought that one for the sole purpose of keeping it in its box, you know? Because, you know, why wouldn't you, you know? By the way, I know nobody's really commented on my videos yet, but I have a question to impose onto you guys. Do you mind, like, if I use this opportunity to talk about my day with you guys, or vent about things that have happened so far? Or would you rather I just stick to gameplay? I mean, I don't want to come off as a milksop or a whiny pissant, you know, but I'm just saying, you know, some people just aren't into that, you know? They don't care about one's day, they just want you to play a game, you know? And to be fair, I mean, I'd rather just play a game too, but, you know, I don't really have anybody to talk to, you know? Like I've never had people to talk to. Now, I don't want to sound sad and desperate, but, I mean, that's just the way it's been. Even before the pandemic, so... And again, not trying to come off as a milksop, but... Oh, man. Speaking of... The only time I've ever heard the phrase milksop was the old 59? Is it 89 or no, it's not 89. 1959 Batman, Adam West series. Yeah, it was an episode called, I think it was Pop Goes the Joker. Basically, well, the plot of that episode was that Joker basically, he raided this art gallery, right? With the expressive purpose not to steal the art, but to destroy the art, right? Well, in a textbook battle between, Batman and the Joker, Batman basically gets there with the express concern to, arrest the Joker, but unfortunately, the owner of the gallery was there, and he actually liked what the Joker did to his art, because, artists, go figure them, right? So, anyway, they were trying to hatch a plot to corner the Joker. So, one of the ideas was to have Bruce Wayne pretend to be down on his luck and try to Oh, maybe I'm getting the plots mixed up. Maybe it wasn't Pop Goes the Joker. Maybe it was this other episode where... Oh, that's another death. That's, 2 now? I think it was the... No, there was another plot where the Joker became the owner of a bank or something, and, they were trying to set up Bruce Wayne, basically, to trick the Joker into printing counterfeit money, right? As a form of entrapment, because, well, they couldn't get Joker on any other crimes, quote unquote, which, honestly, I thought was kind of stupid. I mean, if you want someone to stay on the straight and narrow, the last thing you want to do is entice them to commit a crime, it's a very slippery slope when you're trying to catch a criminal, but the way with which you go about it, almost makes it that you're eliciting a crime, it's hard to explain, but, if you have the ability to watch it, I recommend you watch that series. Also, I think it was the episode Flop Goes the Joker that Cesar Romero actually, I think, said what one could arguably say in these days would be a racist comment, and he basically called Alfred, quote, an Anglo freak, which of course, not anything to say, right? But if you think about... Actually, if I... Aha! There we go. Got it. I don't think I've ever done that before. But yeah, Joker actually called Alfred an Anglo freak while they were sword fighting. Yeah, Joker and Alfred. Go figure, right? And believe me, Alfred won the fencing battle, so... That's all well and good. Fun fact about Cesar Romero when he played the Joker, he basically refused to shave his mustache for the role, so they basically put just a ton of makeup on his face, moreover on his upper lip. So if you look real carefully, you can see that, that Cesar Romero was trying to hide his mustache. Not something I would recommend today, but, well, there you go. Come to think of it, has there ever been a Joker that actually has a mustache? Can't really imagine what that would be like, and I don't know if I really want to. I mean, I'm not saying it's cursed, but, you know, in most iterations I've ever seen of the Joker, he's never had a mustache. Okay, so 2 deaths and over a 250,000. Okay, well this one... Well, this world is at least easier to get points. Would be nice if I had fireballs, but, you know, so it goes. Got it. Oh man, remember Mario Brothers 35? That temporary online game? Oh man. Kind of sad that they removed it, but I don't know. I guess they didn't want people to play a free game. You know, I don't know how I feel about... Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, Nintendo owns the rights to Mario, so, you know, they can do whatever they want with their characters, but, like, when a fan makes a game that seems like a good idea, and, you know, Nintendo takes it down, and then about a year later, you know, introduces something that's remarkably similar, I mean, it kind of makes me wonder if Nintendo basically took the idea for themselves. I mean, like I said, don't get me wrong. I mean, Nintendo owns the rights to the characters. You know, they can do whatever they want with it. But still, I mean, personally, if it were me, I would have done the lateral move and, you know, instead of, like, going after these creators who make something unique, you know, I would have taken a lateral move and maybe hired them to, you know, help out. Because, well, I mean... Because, you know, I mean, personally, you would rather someone who can do this kind of stuff work for you than against you, right? Hell, I mean, I think that's kind of the inspiration behind, you know, Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2, right? They knew ROM hacks existed, and they knew that they weren't going to be able to stamp them out completely. So they figured, okay, well, what if we made a game or a program that allowed people who have no programming knowledge to actually make their own games? And, well, thus Mario Maker was born. You know? Which, oh, by the way, I actually do have a Mario Maker 2 game. So to be honest, I haven't been making levels of late. I mean, now that I'm doing this YouTube thing, you know, maybe I should consider making a level one of these days. You know, just as a motivation or more of a chill thing to do. I mean, can't always do the hard levels, you know. Oh, I hate this one. Well, I mean, I have fireballs, so I... Alright, I'm almost at the goal. Like I said, I mean, this is not a warpless run, so... However, I'm far enough along in the first go-around that, well... the only way I'm going to be able to warp now is during the second run. Come to think of it, I don't know if my lives reset or not. I don't know. I mean, I hope not. Oh, by the way, I've actually seen a run-through of this game, and, I mean, I'm trying for 500,000 points, but I've seen a run of this game with warps that basically I mean, I don't know if it was tool-assisted or not, but basically the player only won the game with 500 points. Yeah, I guess the challenge was to, well, that's a third death. 2 more and it's game over. But yeah, they made it from World 1 to World 8, and they left with only 500 points. I mean, it's 4. This is bad. Oh, that's 5. Game over. Boom, 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 ba-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Well, I'm sorry, but that's the rules. It's game over. Oh, I guess I'll save over this one. Well, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but them's the breaks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.